Wicked, wicked, wicked.
You just feel really calm at the fully lengthened.
Wicked, wicked, wicked.
The longest road is probably consistency over time.
Wicked, wicked.
People have asked me about what I do for traps, and there's like a specific question that I got about mid-trap. Because like everyone knows, like everyone does this, and I'm sure people watching do this. It's like you're taught to shrug with these long arms and just pinch your shoulders up, which is like, it's gonna work, don't get me wrong, but it's gonna get like top of the trap. Like, yeah, you're gonna develop here, but like your trap is a massive like V-shaped muscle, that two sides that goes up and down into your mid-back and up into your shoulders, right? So if you're not working like this density part of your trap, like this mid-back, mid-trap, lower trap, here, like you're not gonna have that three-dimensional look to your back, right? So I think what I do, and I've shown this in other videos, and people like have issues with it because I bend my arms, but like it's understanding the movement, right? So like if I'm gonna shrug this way where I'm just standing up tall and I'm doing this, like the most drop I can get is there. So I can only pull down into as low as my shoulders will sink into the cradle of my shoulder, right? So I can only go to here. So if I come out of posture and I allow myself to roll forward and almost hunch over a bit, which is gonna take like some strength in your back already to be able to do this position. So when I go to pull, yes, I'm pulling up, but I'm not pulling up and in, I'm pulling out wide. So I'm trying to get my shoulder, the edges of my shoulders, my delts here, that's what I'm trying to shrug up high. I'm not trying to shrug up into my ears. And people make that mistake and they think it's like, I'm just narrow and I shrug up in, because these are narrower than my shoulders, so I just want to work them. But it's like, it has to be a full pull. In order for me to do that out here, I won't get range if I stand up tall. I can only shrug to here unless I do this pinching shit, right? So when I roll out of posture, I can imagine these two delts are what I'm trying to roll back, and I drive up. So in order to get height and pull on those, I have to break here. Because I'm pulling from here now, I'm not pulling from here. So if you guys and girls think that it's like, I'm gonna pull up into my trap like you normally do, you're thinking like, why would I bend my arm? I can't, it's gonna be like a upright row. It's like, no, it's just bending to allow my body to move the tips of my delts up behind my ears. It just so happens my trap grabs, but it's not as tight of a grab. I'm not in this like hunch position, I'm here. So my head is dipped forward and I'm moving around my head, which is relaxed. I'm not up tall doing this. I have to let my body move around my neck and my mid-back. So it's almost like a really shitty, improper barbell row. So guys who are really good at shitty barbell rows, you'd be awesome at this. Because like you're already doing shit fucked up, right? So it's like we're just hang over and I'm gonna have the weight over my hands and my feet. So I'm hunched right now. From the side you can see, you can't see my chest. My chest is caved in. I'm not here, I'm caved in, so my arm, all that happened was my shoulders rolled forward. My back rounded, and now the weight's in my hands and my feet. So I'm driving up through my feet. And it's not a matter of doing this, guys, and this like rapid fire fucking nonsense. It's like I want to feel the sink into my mid-back. It's pulling around my upper back, mid-back, and I'm trying to grab up there and squeeze. So I'm trying to drive everything up, flex and hold a bit. So I'm not trying to pause up there and be here. I just want to get a little squeeze, drop back down and feel that pull of around my mid-back, like pulling over around my rear delta, my mid-back, right?
And then what do you have to say about the comments that are going to be, are you scared about your bicep? Like your bicep, you know?
That's the thing. It's like on any given movement, your arm is going to bend, right? Any pulling movement, your arm has to bend. People who think that they can pull with this stiff arm, like, and they're like do rows and they barely bend their arm. It's like in order to get contraction, I have to get my elbows to bend. So whether it's here, here, or from below here, I have to crack elbow and squeeze my back to drive my shoulders back and pop my chest up. So there has to be initiation from the hand. But just because I'm initiating from my hand doesn't mean I'm flexing my bicep. So if I'm doing a barbell row, I'm not going to be here and pulling, I'm not doing a bicep curl. I'm just pulling, my arms happen to bend because I'm doing the action of pulling, right? So it's the same thing here, except we're not even getting anywhere near as near a long of a pull It's just I'm relaxing here and then I'm shrugging up. So my motion comes from my drive up through the floor and my shrug of my shoulder. So my motion, the initial mover is my hand popping and these shoulders driving. But they drive so high that my elbows bend. I'm not pulling the bar up. There's no pull on the bar. It's my shoulders driving up behind my ears and getting height up into my back. So I'm not pulling my bicep. Yes, if you're gonna put like 5 plates aside on, good fucking luck doing this with 5 plates aside. But if you can, cool. But even then, you're probably gonna wrap up and you're gonna feel that momentum of the arms driving up and driving down. So think again, don't shrug to here. We're not trying to shrug to our ears because everyone thinks this is a shrug, which it is, but it's not a good shrug because we're trying to move from tips of delt up. So we're trying to shrug that wide. And it just so happens that our traps pinch when we do that. And we're gonna get a lot more pull down if you think about the arm pulling down, and then I'm throwing those shoulders back up. So you can do that on any motion. You could even do it on a cable. We could pull here and shrug back, pull up. It just so happens that the weight down here creates a lot of force pulling on the muscle, right? So we're getting that stretch and that pulling on that muscle. The muscle has to engage to stabilize, and we pull up and we relax, and it pulls back down into the muscle, right? So there's a lot of variations to shrugs that people can do. Like, I wouldn't recommend people start off heavy this way because you're gonna have to get used to this feeling of like having this weight in front of you. It's almost like you're about to do a stiff leg deadlift, but we're just kind of locking in the spot and driving up through. So I'm almost shrugging up on this angle of my hands here. So my elbows are a little forward. They're not tucked back. I'm just up, up. So if I keep this frame when I pick up, if I think I'm pushing on the bar and I have this elbow over the bar, when I go to shrug, it's just up, up. So I'm not trying to pull my elbows back into me. I'm just staying on the path of this machine and pulling straight up on it. So it's almost like an inverted, like a shitty barbell row, like I said, or like a hunched over upright row. Upright row is gonna get a lot more delt. There's gonna be a lot more pinching. Whereas if you just took that upright row, which is here, and you just started tipped forward and pulled up here, you'd get more trap, right? Now we're just holding a heavier bar and pulling up here. Same motion as the upright row with the shoulders driving up, it's just we're doing it here now. So we're catching more trap and we're catching more lower trap. So we're developing that 3D kind of push out on the top of the back that a lot of guys don't have. A lot of guys have these fucking traps in their ears and then they turn to the side and they lose all dimension. They don't have a back, an upper back. It's just flatness and like a trap because they're not working the shell, that round part of the upper back where the muscles are all working into that. They need pull. They need something to pull them out in order to engage them, right? You can't stay tight and work these muscles. They need to open and then engage. They need to open in order for you to feel them and then engage them to grab them. So if you're doing this turtle arm shit or these half reps like shrugs where I'm literally just going, like that's how it's explained to people and it's like completely fucking asinine. Like if a shrug isn't what you do in life, like it's not that. Like yes, that's a shrug, but don't they, oh, and I pick up weight, that's all I do, I just go, like, what the fuck? It's not gonna do shit for you. So you have to find, like, maybe your angle doesn't need to be as steep as my angle because I've done this for a long time. I've done a lot of weight on it too. But just play with like not being so upright and letting those shoulders kind of roll. So instead of being here, I'm gonna let my shoulders roll in front of my chest and create that pull up. So I'm almost pulling that rear delt up to the ceiling. So I'm pulling that wide. Don't pinch in. If you pinch in, this happens. Wide, that happens. You see everything engage in the back. Here it doesn't do shit. It's just all upper trap and upper back. Here we're trying to pull back into a squeeze, right? We're getting more back. And you'll get trap. Like that peak you want, you'll get it. I've done this demonstration before with straps like dumbbell shrugs. And not everybody has these, obviously. But if you don't, then go buy them. I'm not even sponsored by these people, like trap hooks. Just go get them for your gym or have your gym owner order them for like, I don't even think they're that expensive. But you can do, you can obviously do what I'm about to show you without them. You're just not gonna get as much range and you're not gonna have that pull down, which is important for trap. So we want to feel this like lengthening of the arm and then lifting of the arm. We don't want to feel just being here and going and flexing into like an already tense trap. We want the trap to relax and we want to drive up through. So we want weight counterbalancing, pulling us down. So I almost want to feel like even if I have a dumbbell in my hand, I want to feel like it's pulling to the ground. Like I'm trying to almost dip to the ground and pick it back up. So I'm trying to create length and up. I just happen to have more length now because of these. So I don't have to do that overreaching and I don't have to roll forward as much. I just be here and up. So again, it turns into a shitty barbell row, basically, right? So the same technique as the Smith machine over there is like, yes, we're here, so we're at the sides of our body now. We're not in front with a bar. So we're gonna be, a lot of people are gonna wanna posture up and be here and just shrug or whatever it is the fuck they do, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this roll forward and pull my traps around. My upper back's being pulled around my back because the weight's here, right? So when I'm here, I'm gonna dip into my feet, I'm gonna drive up. So I want that drive up and then sink. So even if I dip forward, I come back up again. So again, I'm just pulling out wide on those delts and dropping. And up and down. So I'm just trying to create this feeling of this overwhelming load down on my body. Like it's pulling me down and I have to drive up. So I catch in my feet, I even brace and up through. So right when I spring up, I drive up through wide. Again, not here. I'm not trying to pinch narrow. I'm trying to pinch wide. It's almost like I'm rolling around, rolling my shoulders back around my body as opposed to pulling them up, up. I'm going back and open, back and open. So it's just a variation. You can do it without the hooks. It's just not gonna look anywhere near like you're getting as much pull or as much drag. So I can hang here. Same thing here, I'm just here, I drive up, pull. The pull is going to be quicker because the weight's not as deep. So I just drive up. So I let it pull me forward and drive up through. Again, if you don't think of traps as like some rapid fire machine gun movement, where it's like, tick, 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 tick. It's like let them pull down, let them pull up. Feel the depth, feel the pull, feel the strain, use that and pull up, right? So we're trying to wrap around the top and then squeeze up through. Wrap around, squeeze up through. It's almost like we're driving up to the ceiling with our shoulders straight up behind us. Our head stays level. If you try and keep your head here, nothing's gonna happen because I'm pinched here. I have to be relaxed to get height behind my head. If I keep my head here, nothing happens, especially if I do this. I can't pull, so it's up. So it's the same analogy as like, for those people who compete or are watching, it's like when I'm gonna pull a lat spread and I go to pull, I'm up. So these guys pull up into their Christmas tree and then they roll open. They don't go. You know what I mean? So in order to get that, to have that movement in your back where you're able to pull up and then move through things and shove your head back, which is what posing is, that means there has to be dexterity, like mobility through your core to be able to like collapse and emanate through something. So I'm caved in here and I'm pushing my chest up through to now where it's showing. I'm covering it, pushing up through. So the same guys that are shrugging like robots are the same guys on stage who probably don't hit shots well and their bodies don't open up and they wonder why, like, oh, I train this and I train that, why isn't it getting better? It's like, because you're not moving properly while you're training, so that movement doesn't carry over to the pose, which is like what we need to hammer home to people repeatedly, is that if you don't move while lifting, you will not move while posing. One correlates to the other. So if you're stiff as fuck when you lift, and you're this robotic, slow, this and that, when you pose, it's the same thing. You don't go from doing this and being this robotic thing or thinking like, oh, everything's not moving, I'm super tense. You don't go from that guy to the guy on stage who's like hitting shots, like rolling through shit, coming up through front doubles, ripping through his lat spreads, like able to open up on his ab thigh, drop down, because you don't have any mobility in your body. Your body's not used to moving through pressing, it's not used to moving through pulling, Whether it's a shrug or a barbell row, it's not used to this mechanic of this chest moving in and out and the back breathing open, closed. So it's like you have to understand if you're having problems with that, you're not developing, the last thing you should be doing is stopping, is limiting your movement. You need to go back to the beginning and learn how to move again. Like, don't keep going on this path of like stiffness, slowness, locking down, rigidness. It's a path to nowhere. And it's a path to injury if you're not careful. Because you're gonna over tense, you're gonna get to this point where you're so tense when you go to do a bicep curl, you're fucking breathing like you're, and it's 30 pounds, 20 pounds. It's gonna be like, it's gonna carry over to like the way you pose, to the way you even do shit in everyday life, like walking down the fucking street or bending over to pick up something. You're stiff, man, you're bound up. And the more that you reinforce that bound up and that tightness, you can't undo it. Because you're so ingrained that even when you try to relax, things just tense up and they grab back again because they're not used to that. And you're scared of full ranges of motion. So it's like if you guys and girls are having problems out there like understanding movement, go back to the beginning and start at fully lengthened positions and learn how to get your body to move through things, or here and pull up through things, relax. Because the more that you lessen this distance to full range and you start shortening it all the time, the tighter you're becoming. That's why people promote full range of motion. Yes, there's times when you can limit the range because you understand, I can understand if I'm rowing here, I can feel my back go and I can pull. I don't need to get here because I understand where that is already. So I know my back's open here, I pull my back. Because I'm understand now I'm pulling with my back. Or if I'm coming on my chest, if I'm gonna press with my chest, I'm gonna drop, I'm gonna press. Some guys might not get to chest because they feel like this natural shoving where they're moving through things, right? And they're able to engage their pec. But that comes with time. There's not one of them can do that without having done the full range at some point. To understand, like now they understand how the muscle's moving. I can feel my muscles there, squeeze, squeeze, move back, right? But without that full range and you understanding like how far you can take an exercise or where it begins and where it ends, you're just gonna be floating in that middle range all the time, which is not where you wanna be. It's the range of injury and the range of stiffness.